Sync Riffs back at it. Welcome. Want to welcome a special guest, A&R Sync executive and producer Isaac Williams. How's it going, Isaac?
Amazing, man. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to do this. I've been seeing all the legendary guests on the pod. I'm like, all right, I got to get on here somehow. So definitely thanks for having me.
Absolutely, long time coming, and we've done a lot of work together on the sync side and collaborating, and it's gonna be great, Isaac, to be able to sit down and hear about how you got to LA and you're killing it nonstop. I know you're originally from Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, I'll just kind of set the table correct. You moved out here, I think it was about 2020, so just after the pandemic, and I'll let you take it from there. And how'd you break into the music industry?
Yeah, no, I actually moved out here 2015.
Oh,
Yeah, 2015. So I was here right when the pandemic started. But man, where do I even start? Yeah, I went to school for music. It was always a part of my life. I went to Columbia College in Chicago. I started in like music composition and was like, all right, this isn't for me. I sucked at music theory. And I was like, yeah, all right, I'm not trying to be a music teacher. So they had like a music business program. I took that and just kind of learned the business side of music, but I always wanted to be like a producer. So after that, moved to LA, like any other artist trying to make it happen, and did the up and down of like being a part of camps and chasing a producer, having placements on hold and not getting the placement, and just the whole gambit of just like doing the LA thing. Now I remember in college, this guy was doing like music for like Pepsi and like all this stuff. And he was like the first one of us to like move to LA from like my graduating group. And like I see him getting these commercials, and then I hear the music. I'm just like, wait, my music is way better than this. So I'm like, if that guy's doing that, I know I could kill it if I could do sync. So I just learned about sync. And then my first placement was Shameless, a show on Showtime. I found out right on Thanksgiving. I never always remember that. Yeah, it was like $2,500. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Ever since then, yeah, that's how I got my first sync placement, and just been kind of up from there. And since then, I pivoted around and did producing and did A&R and different things like that. But yeah, that's kind of how the start happened.
very nice. It sounds like, because you're multifaceted, Isaac, because and also on the A&R side, if you want to talk about, I know you were at Creation Music Rights as an A&R manager from 2024, and their focus was South Korean music publishing. Tell us more about what your role was there, and we'd love to hear more.
Yeah, for sure. I got into K-pop during the pandemic. Actually, I was working for this job, and I was there for 4 years. Just needed a different perspective. I was like, felt like I was stagnant. I was like, all right, what's next? So after
Mhm.
that, just got on the job hunt, and an opening came up for this company under Warner Music called 153 Jumbas. I applied. I didn't know anything about K-pop. I was like, let me just shoot the shot and just see what happens. And yeah, they like the vibe and energy, and they kind of wanted someone who wasn't too familiar. And yeah, that was kind of like my first introduction to K-pop. And it taught me a lot for sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
Especially going into the genre, not knowing a lot. But now I have a really great appreciation for it. But from but from that, I met a bunch of people in K-pop that became long lasting connections. And from those connections in K-pop, I met a bunch of people. And from that, I had the opportunity to work for a company under SM Entertainment called KMR, and I was their A&R manager for the U.S. and pretty much signing songwriters and producers, putting together K-pop camps, looking for songs to pitch to artists, and pretty much the things I still do now, just on an independent level. But yeah, that's how I get into K-pop.
Wow. Talk about the arc of K-pop now with everything with K-pop Demon Hunters and
Crazy.
yeah, I think it was it was Jay-Z, if I'm not mistaken. I was reading on what you and I were talking about the other day about he was investing mad money to
Yeah.
see K-pop go global, even
Yep.
bigger. Yeah.
Crazy now.
And on the sync side, I know you talked about also, I think you had some syncs in like Kardashians, and also was it Grownish, I believe?
Yeah. I feel like I probably have hit every reality show on the sing side, like popular ones from like Love and Hip Hop, every
Mhm.
Basketball Wives, every Housewives. Like I conquered that. Yeah, that's been
Yeah.
cool, and that was just a learning experience because when I first got it, I didn't know why I was getting it. But I just, when everyone's just starting out with Sync, you're just throwing everything at the wall. You're just hoping
Yeah.
like, here, take my entire catalog. But it is definitely like a strategy to it. And what I tell like, anyone getting into Sync is like find your niche. Like don't try to
Yeah.
do it all. Like, find what you're good at and become the go-to person for that. And then eventually, for those type of TV shows, I was really good at tension music with like a hip hop flair to it. So yeah, once I'm
Mm.
like, all right, I'm noticing they only are only taking these like hip hop tension tracks. So let me just do these because these other tracks aren't working. And yeah, since then I've been able to get, close to over 500 placements on, doing that type of music and, a couple other stuff is sprinkled in there as well. But yeah, I just stick to what I know and just try to kill it.
Wow. The 500 club and growing. That is awesome. And congrats on that. Because as we all know, for the uninitiated and everyone talks about, the back end performance income, that mailbox money is where it's at.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, that is awesome. And I'm just referring here genre because Isaac, you talked about niche, and I think it was a 2020 article or interview you did with Voyage LA. I think
Yeah.
at the time, the your your New Jack, refresh my memory. There was a
Oh, yeah. I was doing like this thing, which I still do. I probably market it a different way. It was like new trap swing, which was
okay,
like my twist on like Bryson Tiller had like new. It was like trap soul. So my thing was like R&B with like more of a like a trap flavor to it. But yeah, that's
yeah.
something that I still do. But I probably would like market it totally different. Every producer had their sound. Like you had Pharrell sound, you had Timbaland sound, you had Kanye. So I'm like, all right, what's gonna be my sound? So that was definitely the vibe when I was in that phase going for sure.
Yeah. Well, hey, I got to hear some of those cuts because,
For real.
you
Yeah.
know,
Um,
I think, like you said, and we see it all the time with briefs, Isaac, is,
yeah.
authentic cuts from whether it's 70s, 80s, 90s, pick your decade.
Hmm.
And, I think, like you said, branding yourself and having those types of cuts is
Yeah,
critical.
for
And
sure.
I was just gonna try and share. Let me see here, because that's kind of a good segue. In a sec, we'll talk about you've produced artists that we've worked with, and like Freddie Bomb Bomb. Shout out to Freddie,
Mhm. Of
but
course.
talk about developing Freddie's sound, and I would love to hear the backstory and how you first came in touch with Freddie Bomb Bomb.
Yeah, Freddie's a legend, my go-to artist for sure. How I met Freddie was it was a time, I'm pretty sure you remember this. It was only like probably post-pandemic, but like Spanish pop was needed for sync. And like they needed so much of it. And it was like those was the only briefs I was getting. And it was like all the Spanish music. So I was like, all right, well, let me find a Spanish artist. And I was looking and a few was working out, some wasn't working out. And then I went to this event ASCAP had. They still have it actually. It's called like Break Bread. I think they changed the name now, but
Uh-huh.
it's pretty much saying invite like a bunch of producers and songwriters and you just play your music there. So I did it like twice, but they always like post like everyone who performed on their Instagram.
Mhm.
So I didn't go that time, but that time Freddie was there and they're posting everyone. They post Freddie and he's doing like this amazing like Spanish rap pop. I'm like, oh, who's that guy? So I reach
Yeah.
out to him via, Instagram at the time, slide in his DM, and I just hit him up. I'm like, hey, I do sync. I'm pretty sure Freddie didn't even know what sync was at that
Mm.
time. He was like, whatever, I'll come.
Uh,
Yeah, invited him to the studio, and then like our first studio session, we did like 2 songs together. And they were like
wow.
pop songs, like really good pop songs. And then I'm like, hey, like, I really want to do some Spanish stuff. Come to
Mhm.
find out, he doesn't even speak Spanish. I'm like, what? But he was like a really dope artist. So we kept working together. And he was kind
Yeah.
of like a Selena, like he had co-writers who would like do the Spanish for him. And that's how he was doing the Spanish. He's definitely much better now. He can like cook up a Spanish song, on his own now. But at the
Yeah.
time, he was kind of learning. But yeah, that's how we got connected from a ASCAP event.
Oh, that is too cool. Or he would
Yeah,
say, he's like, I can speak Spanglish.
yeah,
That
for real.
is no, like you said though, I mean, he and I, when we're always talking about sort
Yeah,
of that work acumen, and that's I think what, similar uh disciplines we attract in our circle, and it's sort of like not 24/7 365 but 24/7 366. You guys
mhm,
are always burning it on both ends of the candle, and just
yeah.
looking at tracks, and I'm sharing up on Spotify here,
Always
and
new.
so blessed to you know, how we came in touch, I think it was at, yeah, the Guild was it Hunter George who referred us together through the and we
Conference, the first GMS conference, like at least 4 years ago, 3 years ago. It's been a while, but that's how we first got connected. Yeah.
that's right, and then we collabed, and then, so with this track, and for those who aren't in the know, but, we secured the, number 1 chart position on TikTok's commercial music library, and last I checked, for Freddie on this cut, All We Need, I think we're probably like 17,000 organic posters on somewhere around there.
It's crazy. Yep. Yep. We're super close to hitting that 20K mark.
Man, and it's one of those things. Tell us about this track. So this was released in 2025.
Mhm.
And I'm always curious, Isaac, because it's like pulling behind the curtains. But traditionally, when you're working with like Freddie, um, what comes first? You lay down some beats at the top line. Does he write top line melody, or is that coming from you, or how's that work?
Yeah, we have so many different approaches when it comes to music. This particular song, we were creating his sound, which was for this particular project called West Pop, which is kind of like we have this conversation all the time as far as like, when you hear like the Mexican West Coast artists, they're super gangster. And it's like
Yeah.
there's no Mexican Drake. So we're like, all right, we're gonna take that lane, we're gonna create pop songs that's really good, but also has a West Coast feel from it, because that's where Freddie's from.
Mhm.
And I honestly didn't even like West Coast music till I moved to LA. I always thought it was kind of like, it's kind of corny and it's kind of blah, blah, blah. But then when I moved out here, it's literally like a cultural vibe. Like you have to be here to get it. And then like after my first few years, and it's something about just bumping West Coast music and driving down PCH, and it's just like a vibe. So
Yeah.
um that's how I got introduced to it. So yeah, I think with this one, like we was creating Freddie sound, and we've just locked in, and we've just creating these West pop songs, and there just happened to be one of them that we
Mm.
just picked up and did for this project.
I think you know, for me, having come up on, Philly International Records, High Records back when I was at
Mhm.
Capitol, but the through line is, your bass lines, the
Yes.
core of your instrumentation, your beats. It's like,
Mhm.
boom, it locks in. And once you hear Freddie's vocals, his smooth vocal delivery, whether it's English or in Spanish, and then you just have, your that mix dialed in where it was funny because we were doing a listening session the other day with Burt Blackrock, and
Mhm.
a lot of producers where they were talking about, music supervisors, they're most of the time they're just listening to cuts off of the speakers on a Mac,
Oh
so
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and that's the test is like, is your mix dialed in where it sounds good in the car, if it's on a laptop or on the beats?
Yes.
How what's that process like when I'm sure if you have a track that you really want to dial it in, you'll do you do all your mixing and mastering as well?
That is a really great question that's gonna take us down a very interesting rabbit hole. So I am no mixer. Like I do not consider myself an engineer or anything.
Yeah.
I know how to mix to the point that the average person will be like, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
But if you took the mixer engineer, they're like, what is this? Um, so the funny thing is we have an engineer who's amazing. His name is Mike. He mixes a lot of our stuff.
Okay.
We have not got a placement yet with Mike. Well, we have one, but that was instrumental. So no, we have not got a vocal placement since working with Mike, which is so weird.
Yeah.
But every song that I mix, we've got a placement with. I'm just like, how is my little horrible mixes getting like synced in these national commercials and campaigns, that I'm mixing in headphones and literally have no idea what I'm doing. Um, but yeah, all of our placements together has been songs that I mix, but I do not consider myself an engineer. But to go back to your point that you're talking about with mixing, it
Yeah.
is super subjective. Because if you
Mhm.
get a decent mix, like you said, like the average music supervisor, they're not an audio person. You're gonna get the one-offs where it's they're everything. They're instrumentalists, they are vocalists, they have audio ears. That's the
Yeah.
exception. Most music supervisors, they're known for their taste, but they don't really know what a good and bad mix sounds like for the most part. So
Yeah.
I say like, yeah, it is great if you can get a good mix, but if you're able to get like an average mix, I mean, we had, national commercials, songs that I just mix, that
Mm.
it just worked. So it's just like, it is a weird thing to kind of like tell someone like, don't focus on the mix, you know, it's if
Yeah.
you can capture that vibe and what the brief want, you'll be really surprised at like what you can get away with a lot of times, you know. Um,
Mm,
I don't know.
that
I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
yeah, no, it's interesting because the software I use, and we're going to tie it in and it for the
Yeah,
podcast, but there's like a AI studio production quality for the vocals or vocal track. Correct, Isaac, if I'm not mistaken. There's AI mixing programs to mix quality.
it's not, but I'm waiting for it for sure.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, there's AI mastering. There's a bunch of those AI mastering, which I've
Mm,
definitely been guilty of using. But as far
mhm.
as like importing the stems and mixing, that doesn't exist yet. I think once that does, that's going to definitely be a game changer for the music industry. Because I feel
Yeah.
like the whole AI thing, I don't think engineers has been impacted yet, just yet. So I feel like they're going to be the next to feel like this whole AI thing. But not yet. But for masterings, there's a bunch of AI mastering for sure.
Yeah, time will tell because it's every day if you look through the news feeds and the stories, whether it's like Charlie Puth or from Timbaland, basically like no one wants to be left behind. They don't know how the whole AI thing is going to shake out.
Yeah,
And same with what we're seeing with the major labels. First they were going to sue Suno, and then now they're like, well,
and
we
part
won't sue you, but use our catalog to train your algorithm.
crazy. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's we're in April and we just had the past couple weekends was the Coachella Festival, and a
Mhm.
great segue. I'm gonna pull up on screen and you can tell us about. So you work with an artist named Eternity,
Yes.
and the backstory. I'll let you do the full reveal, but you got a collab, or she's used in a brand, and she performed at Coachella.
Not this time.
Hmm.
Coach, she was invited by Coke and Live Nation just as an influencer. She
Oh, nice.
has, I think she has close to 4 million, if not 4 million, on TikTok now. From
Wow.
her thing is she has an amazing voice, and that's all she needs. And she's super into health and fitness. And yeah, she just cuts up fruits, makes a smoothie, and sings a Adele song, and it just blows up from there.
Oh,
Well,
that
yeah,
is
so many people repost her from her to Alicia Keys, and yeah, she's super talented. And I met Eternity from a business partner of mine, named Darnell. He has a management company called Rare Circle Entertainment,
okay.
and pretty he needed like an A&R to come just help develop her sound, and he knew my background, and we kind of partner companies together, and we're both just been working to really just take her to the next level. He handles all the management and brand deals, and I do a lot of the A&R and finding her songs, and sometimes I'm producing songs, and I'm literally wearing all hats. So it really just depends on where he needs me at. And yeah, it's been a really great project, and I think she's gonna definitely blow up for sure.
Wow, very nice. And serendipitously, so I just so I pulled up this guy, and obviously because I know you had produced a couple of her tracks, and it looks like this track Energy, and there's a Freddie on the feature.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, this one came about. We're talking about AI. I produced this song, and it had this hook on there called Energy. And I just temped in some AI vocals. So me and Freddie was like, we can't be using AI this soon. So we like, what we want to do. So Freddie was going to be the one to sing the hook originally. But at the same time, Eternity was coming to. She's based in Atlanta, but she was coming to LA for a song camp that was dedicated just to her.
Mhm.
And it happened to be all at the same studio, and we was all in there working. So like while they was working on songs for her, I hit up Darnell like, "Hey, can Eternity come check out the song? If she likes it, she can hop on it." We played the song, she loved it. Went in the booth, literally like 2 takes, just killed it. Like what you hear on the song is her going in the studio in like 1 or 2 takes, and it just came out amazing.
Wow, very
Yeah.
nice, very nice. Congrats on that. And what was the second cut that you worked with her on?
Her first single, actually. I did
Oh,
her first recorded song ever. Because she was mainly known for doing covers, and she was more of a live singer performer. So she got with Darnell's company, and we really just started like creating an EP and songs for her. So I was a producer, and yeah, I ended up getting her first song ever called "Okay." Um,
oh,
it
okay.
was just released as an artist. And yeah, it's been doing pretty good. But since then, we just been growing the catalog and just we're always looking for songs and producers and
Mm.
want to really just elevate her brand.
Very nice. Congrats. So being here in LA, and then we'll thread the needle. Because I'm
Yeah.
curious, how often do you go back to Chicago, whether it's to visit family or for work? Like, what's the scene? Any Chicago artists that might be on your radar, or is it pretty much now that you're in the West Coast, it's a West Coast
Yeah.
frame of mind? Yeah, how's that work?
Right. I've been in I've been in LA going on 11 years now, which is crazy to say. So I'm not tapped into the Chicago scene that much.
Mhm.
Most of the artists that I work with is like LA based. But like when I first moved to LA, like I was doing the whole producer thing. I'll work with every artist and whoever wants
Yeah,
to work with me and doing that, but that can really drain you, like doing that and dealing with so many different personalities and different things like that. So really Freddie and Eternity might be the only artists I'm working with. And I'm just gonna like just bet it all on them, and then
yeah,
grow them and grow their fan base, and we all just rise up together instead of me going after every artist possible. And obviously there's some exceptions for sure.
sure.
People I still work with that I grew up with, and people may hit me up for beats and stuff like that. But as far as like dedicated my time and just energy, it's really just Freddie and then Eternity.
Yeah, and the world's your oyster because we're both, in the LA Recording Academy, and it's sort of like once you're in that smaller room and in between, I know you pull a lot of, key high level meetings where it's kind of a nice thing is you can be, yeah, as we say, picky choosy because, like you said, your ears are tuned in, or
Yeah,
a hit or talent when you hit within 5 seconds.
for sure. Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
And I'm
yeah, it's that said, what's kind of the pulse? Like we're the first quarter of 2026 is, we're going in the second quarter, but music trend wise on the global perspective, like what's your crystal ball showing like for the rest of this year with Sync, any trends or anything that you might share from the A&R side?
Yeah, I mean, for Sync, that's my best specialty, and like that's still like
Mm,
my bread and butter for sure. I think Sync has been the same. They're always going to be like a few months behind the Billboard charts, So
mm,
whatever's popping now will be the needed thing in Sync. That's always been the case for sure. Sync isn't always the one to kind of lead the charge when it comes to trendiness, unfortunately. And of course, there's some music supervisors who's like, "Oh, I'm always looking for the unknown artist," but really, I don't know if you really are like you want to play it safe. So, but yeah, I think whatever's on the charts now will be needed in Sync in the next couple months. Industry wise, I don't know. I feel like these are kind of stagnant right now. Obviously
mm.
country was booming for a while. But hip hop has definitely took a slow decline on being on the charts. I think it's open for someone to create a new wave and a new trend for sure. Yeah, I don't know what the new wave is. I think it's definitely the wild, wild west right now. And whoever, hops in there and, grabs the baton can, set the new trend.
Yeah, because it's interesting because depending on who you talk to, some folks, the word around campfire, so to speak, whether straight up rock, not necessarily hard rock or metal rock, but just
Mm,
straight rock, will kind of resurface. So I'm curious
yeah,
about that. But I was gonna pull up, and this is kind of a cool thing, just kind of see, and I'll cue this up. But while
yeah.
I'm doing that, I'm just curious because I'm sure Isaac, you get so much music. Are there any frontline artists that you're like, yo, I'm bumping this in the car. Check this out. Any artists right now that you're really psyched about?
Oof. I know artists are gonna be upset with me. Like, how come you didn't mention me? I'm like,
I'll preface it
yeah.
from a frontline label.
Like, I work more on the publishing side, so I hear more songwriters and producers.
Mm.
So a lot of times they're not really releasing music, but I get great songs from people all the time. So if you're working with me, you send me music. I'm talking about you. All right. Yeah. I always get great songs from all the songwriters and producers. I'm pitching for K-pop and stuff like that.
Very cool. Well said. Well said. Because I'll do my homework, reverse engineer, and it's interesting because this was on my radar. So this track, Bon Bon,
Mm.
the artist it's fuckers SCUKURS. They're signed to Ninja Tune
Wow. Okay.
and straight up electronic female vocal. And I think it was like this Coachella and last Coachella, like 45% of the programming, electronic DJs. And this Bonbon track for TikTok, it was on like 4 charts at the number one. So
Wow.
yeah, so look for them. They're going to be, and then let's just see, boom, just looking at, so DJ Seinfeld. So this is the new releases. And what's cool about the commercial, the CML, uh, it has to be commercially released. It could be an
Mm,
indie artist or a frontline artist. And let's see, Ashley Walt. Let's see if any of these jump out at you. Seinfeld again, Miami XO.
wow, these are all new artists to me.
Yeah, it's All American Reject. So that's,
Yeah, of course,
and
yeah.
who was it? Yeah. Oh, forgetting their name. Sublime, I know, just came out with their a new record, and then they were on the map when Lana Del Rey had covered Summertime, or what,
Mm,
that one cut from Sublime. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh but let me see. Oh boy. But yeah, it's it's all over the place, but it's fascinating because if you look um at, like, see, that went viral, the
Yeah.
Bonbon track. And then these playlists, they got new emerging pop,
Wow.
house funk, okay. And what's funny, it makes me laugh, and it's just, I'm glad we're talking about this for future when we're strategizing and
Yeah.
planning with Freddie. Boom, they had a Cinco de Mayo play. It's almost like a social media calendar, whatever's coming, and then they're gonna have 4th of July. So
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, man, it's, and this, just to spend some time on it, for the uninitiated, but
Yeah.
with verticals and this sort of micro syncs, I know Netflix had announced they were jumping in with creating
Mm,
vertical content, that
yeah.
which is shorter, maybe it's a 3 to 5 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, on,
Yeah.
not a full 30-minute or an hour long show, but verticals, and with this, with the social media, the micro syncs, it does pay back end performance income. It's
Mm-hmm.
like Spotify, where it's, half of 1 cent. But if something goes viral and you're doing the
Yeah.
math on, a million times half of 1 cent, there's your mailbox money.
Yeah, yeah, I'm very curious to see who's gonna be the company to put music at the forefront of their verticals. Because right now, like,
Mm,
I have a few vertical companies, and they're cool with just getting royalty-free music, and they don't really care what it sounds like, you know? But
yeah.
no one's really got into that space of, like, music supervising a vertical or looking for artists to break in vertical, but I do feel like the company that does that, is definitely gonna be a game changer for sure, but yeah, right now is just isn't a concern for them, which is, we'll get there eventually.
Right. That's because, yeah, it's interesting. I had Jonathan, I'm spacing on his name, but he's a music super, and he's at Slipstream, and I know they've been making some big moves
Mm,
on, you know, that sort of lane as well. So yeah, what's I know we had at the beginning of this year, we had all front loaded. We had South by Southwest, and are
yeah,
there any conferences that you pretty much, I know you hit up Nam, but
and
what are
then
your,
that was a good time.
yeah, any for the rest of your year, any conferences or international or anything
Yeah,
you got on
um,
your calendar?
I have Korea planned probably in September. They have a conference out there called MUCON, if I'm saying that right. And it's kind of like where the industry of K-pop kind of meets, and they're breaking new artists there, new labels are presenting new artists, connecting with labels and publishers. So it's gonna be my first year going to that. That's in Korea, so I'm excited for that. And then, NAM, we have GMS conference in August. That's always good to go to. Trying to see what else. Yeah, I think those are the big ones typically. And then when NAM comes back around, we're back at that. But
Yeah.
those are definitely the ones that I'll be at for sure.
Yeah, and it one year we'll have to go together, but I know it had just happened. I think a couple weeks past, but Muse Expo is
Oh,
under
music,
another.
good one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then what is it? There's one that's geared towards like production music.
Oh yeah, the PMA, is that it?
I think so. Yeah,
Production Music Association.
correct. I think that's in like October. It's in the
Yeah.
fall.
Right. Right. Yeah. So yeah,
Um,
they're always good ones. What's your thoughts on those? As far as like if you're like a writer or producer, someone looking to get in the sync, like do you advise people to go to those or do you wait to they're more kind of familiar with the sync space to kind of recommend going to those events?
That's a good question because I think it
Mm.
can be overwhelming if you
I'm
don't
asking.
go with a plan.
I'm asking, yeah.
Yeah, but I think, and we could thread it though, is because your work, you're also at the LA Film School and on the education component. And I think we've done some great work there. I did a virtual Sync 101, the
Yep.
blueprint with you. And what do you advise? And this is kind of to thread it, for folks looking to break into sync or the entertainment industry, one piece of advice, if you had to tell them, Isaac.
Yeah, no, I have this conversation all the time. It's really two things, really. Just it's a numbers game. You got to have a big catalog. You just can't pitch, 5 or 10 songs and hope for the best because those songs are going to get outdated. And especially if you're doing songs, your chances are even more slim because you have to like hit these, lyric themes. You have to hit these vibes, and there's so much things that go into songs opposed to if you're doing instrumental. There's really more opportunities. But if you're just doing songs, it's a numbers game. It's really numbers games with instrumentals as well. So having a big catalog for sure. The second thing I will say is finding your niche.
Yeah.
Everyone's always say I like the worst thing you could say to a music supervisor is I do it all. They're like they do not want to hear that because they're like they don't want anyone who does it all. That's like if you go to get your car fixed and they're like, "Hey, I bake cakes too," and you're like, "I don't care. Like, I want you to fix my car. I don't care that you bake cakes and you do all these other things." That's
Mhm,
what I always
mhm.
say. Like, find your niche and what you're good at, and become the go-to person, and you'll see the most success. And it's so many times that companies reach out to me, like, because they know I do. Like, all right, we need urban tension. Isaac got a bunch of it. Oh, we need Spanish pop. Oh, he knows Freddie. Freddie goes that. So we get that all
Yeah.
the time. So finding your niche is like a really big thing, and then everything else is like the technical side that people don't really know. Like I had so many placements because I started naming my songs and instrumentals differently, and people
Ah.
don't understand how good important that is. Like for me, like I don't name anything past the letter M unless I have to, because when this, get imported from like disco, it's a lot of times in alphabetical order. So, like I don't go past M because I want my chances to be higher. Like that's just a little tip that can just help your chances of getting a placement, that most people don't even think about. And then obviously, endings. A lot of people they're still fading after endings. And I really think me and Freddie got a NBA Peloton commercial because the ending was so good and it matched on beat. It was the
Ah.
perfect stinger ending. And I feel like that's just technical stuff that people don't really think when they think about sync. And all those things really help when like securing a placement. Because you have to think these editors are regular people. Like they don't want to have to do their job more than they need to, so they're not
Mm.
spend all day fixing your ending. They're not gonna
Mm.
find the perfect edit point. So if it's there for them, they'll
Yeah.
pick a song that's already done, opposed to an amazing song that needs a lot of work. And those are really good tips that just help me just land a bunch of placements for sure. So it's kind of what I tell people: like find your niche, and it's a numbers game. And if you keep pitching and your quality is good and you find what you do, you'll see success eventually.
Man, that's the master class right there. You just broke it down. But I was gonna ask you, Isaac, what was the cut from Freddie, the Peloton?
Yeah, it was a song called "Ball Out." I think it is on Spotify.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, it was for Peloton NBA partnership that they did, and
Nice.
yeah, we getting that's probably one of our biggest cuts we got ever, for sure.
Yeah. No, that is amazing. Cause and I know the cut
Yeah, Ball Out.
and
You got that one for sure.
yeah, for sure, and I'm just doing some wizardry right here on the back
Yeah.
side of things, but, yeah, gotta love, real-time chats and making it on the, "Here we go. Let's go, let's go, let's go." Uh,
Oh, oh,
but yeah, and I think, yeah, waveform analysis, like you said, um, look at those builds and the edit points, and like you said, so this ending here, what you're
and I
talking about. Mhm.
yeah, that was, you know, I think that was sealed it because that's what they end the commercial on that ending. They didn't change anything.
I see.
Yeah.
Now with the commercial, was there I'm sure there was a VO, a voiceover? Okay, cool. And, I'll see, let me just pull this back up because yeah, I think I can, do it where, we won't get flagged. Because I know with if you play a track on a podcast, but I think if I just do, Okay. So it was Freddie's vocal on the
Yeah,
faded out. Okay.
keep it in there.
And then it ended with "Gotta Let Him Know Now," and then it faded echoed out.
Exactly just like that. Yep. Yep.
Boom! That is awesome. And
Right.
I love, I'll call it, because I'm a radio guy. So if you ask me what's the most important element about a track, it's the hook, the hook, the hook. And
Yeah.
your whether it's, you call it your sample packs, but the sounds that you pick,
Mm.
they're all fire, Isaac. And and then when you throw in Freddie's, just the command of his vocals, it's got that swag. So
Yeah.
yeah, you guys have and there's more to come, because I know we have all his cuts, and I'm excited the next time we'll do part 2 chat
For
and do a
sure.
round table with Freddie and see what he has in the works for the rest of the year.
Yeah. A lot.
Um, but
A lot for
no,
sure.
man. So before so Peloton, El Pollo Loco, and Google. Was it Google also? I think.
Yeah, we did Walmart. We did RBNC Bank, which is like a big bank in Canada. And then Tortino's for the Super Bowl was another big one of ours too.
Damn. So I think any international.
International. No, those was all national campaigns.
Mm,
But of course, like for ads, once you get an ad placement, they're gonna have in the contract worldwide use. So
sure.
and maybe it did crossover. They're gonna do worldwide use regardless, just in case that the commercial goes big. But the cool thing about the Peloton one was that was only a digital commercial.
Oh,
At
I
first
see.
digital did so good, they turned it into a TV commercial. And if you don't know, that is treated like a whole new sync placement. So you get a whole new check for that, and you get a whole new contract assigned. So we end up eating
Wow.
twice off that one because it started off as a digital, and then they picked it up for a national commercial campaign.
Congrats. Yeah, the next time when we'll pull those clips up with Freddie, because I remember it aired during like the NBA.
Yeah, a bunch. Yeah. Yeah. A few people hit us up saying they're seeing it. And yeah, it still aired like here and there a few times too. So yeah, that was a really cool one for sure.
Very nice, very nice. Well, on the side closing, because out of Nam, I made some connects, met some label folks from Japan, and also a Japanese producer. So the goal will be to teach Freddie some Japanese phrases, have him spit some rhymes in Japanese, and let's get him synced in an ad in Tokyo.
Let's do it. We got to.
That would be dope. But man, thank you, Isaac. The time flies by. This is a part 1 combo, because it'll be
Yeah,
great to.
for sure.
Yeah, and we'll share more music, have Freddie on, and but no, much continued success, and I know we're just getting started on the collab, so look forward to that, and hang tight as we wrap this. But until next time, guys, click, like, subscribe. I'll drop in Isaac's info on IG, and you can follow, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Sync Riffs. Namaste.
Go.